So, Series 4 minis are out. To be honest with you, this is way more minis than I thought would ever get made, which is fun as we're getting to see rarer characters that probably never would have gotten any merchandise otherwise. You guys are probably aware right now that out of all of the official Warrior Cats merch, the one thing I like is these vinyl figurines. They're small, they're not incredibly expensive, and they look so much more presentable than the plushies, keychains, and little balls of hair they've made. That said, they should definitely get some different art for their non-mini merchandise. While the minis are cute as figures, they don't look as good copy and pasted as flat designs onto t-shirts. They really need to commission some good cartoony character art for these things because the minis aren't cutting it. Or at the very least have someone draw the mini designs in different, more dynamic poses. These shirts look very low effort, but this is not a video about boring shirts. The minis this time are Mothwing and Hawkfrost, Blue Star and Darkstripe, and Crooked Star and Mapleshade. Hawkfrost, Mothwing, and Mapleshade are all post-Series 1 editions, which I think is the most we've gotten in a single set so far. Additionally, Crooked Star doesn't get his own book or any real focus until 2011, so he might as well be a fourth art character at this point. First thing to mention is that the last 2 times I ordered these in the set of 3 bundle that they had advertised, and they took a pretty long time to arrive. This time I ordered them all separately, but together in the same order, and they came faster. I have no idea why this is, honestly. Secondarily, the quality of this batch is pretty high. While my last few sets had a lot of general mistakes and blemishes, these guys are largely well put together with smooth cuts in the vinyl and smaller seams. I also don't know if or not this was affected by me buying them separately as opposed to in a set of 3. Quality-wise, the first set, Mothwing and Hawkfrost, is mostly perfect. My Mothwing has a tiny green dot on her forehead and a pretty discolored seam, but otherwise she's pretty good. Hawkfrost has a little white dot on his foot, much like the one my Scrollflight has on her tail, but is otherwise perfect from what I can tell. As far as designs go, Mothwing I like. She's probably the best cat in this set. She's got some color dipping in front of her eyes that invokes seeming a bit older in the same way you might draw wrinkles on an old woman, but I think that works fine for her. Honestly, she's pretty, and her design isn't so complicated that it's distracting from that. I also like that she's angular, which is accurate to how they describe her face as triangular in the books. Her mane here is also really cute and fluffy. Hawkfrost, meanwhile, is not very pretty. Not that every cat needs to be pretty, of course. It's just surprising when one of the fandom's most glamorized villains is made a little bit silly looking. His head is very round, and he doesn't have the same defined chin as most other figures from the earlier sets have. The length of the spot on his chin is adding to the illusion that his head is just really long. And why is his whole tail black when none of his stripes are? His face is also really busy, but I can live with it. I'd imagine if you're really into Hawkfrost, this would be a super disappointing figure in design, but at least it's not a super inaccurate one like Ashfur. Love your new Moon Kitty spot, Hawkfrost. I'm glad you're a fan. The next set is Blue Star and Darkstripe. My Blue Star is probably the one with the most manufacturing mistakes out of all of these. She has a few imperfections in her eyes and around that area, but she seems good otherwise. Likewise, I can't find any immediate imperfections in my Darkstripe, much like my Mudclaw. They just love sending me flawless minor villain figures. Design-wise, Blue Star is fine. I'm actually really glad that she's actually blue here, as she's been getting more and more pale and silver in fan art lately. Her gray eyelids and beard definitely make her seem a bit old, which is also good, as she's Blue Star, and when we met her, she's described as having a graying muzzle. Unfortunately, the cut of her beard gives that Cheshire cat smile problem that earlier figures had, like she could unhinge her jaw and open her mouth like a Muppet. Also, look at her eyebrows. You drew those on, Blue Star. Darkstripe. Gosh, I don't know. They could probably do literally anything with Darkstripe and I'd be like, this is fine, whatever. That said, why is he fluffy? Do people see Darkstripe as fluffy? Does anyone? He's definitely short hair in the manga and implied to be in the books. This Darkstripe also has brown stripes, but also secondary stripes that don't seem to be a different color than his normal fur. He's also got the cinder pelt problem, where his ear fluff draws a lot of attention from the rest of his body, just due to it being so much lighter, while it's hard to tell almost all of his other fur colors apart. The last set is Crooked Star and Mapleshade. These figures are both in good condition too. Honestly, while there was probably some small issue with every cat I got besides Mudclaw the last few times, more of the cats from this set have shown up without any manufacturing problems than did. Mapleshade and Crooked Star have stripes going down the back of their heads, which isn't abnormal for these minis, but none of the other cats in this set do. I wonder if they just forgot. Crooked Star looks pretty good. You can tell immediately that it's Crooked Star, and there's nothing that takes you out of that illusion. Honestly, there's only one thing I would change, and it's the fact that I cannot tell if these stripes are actually a slightly different color than his fur, or if I'm just tricking myself. I think they are. I think they're a tiny little bit different. Mapleshade is probably my least favorite here. I don't like how light and orange she is, as I'd always imagine that maple designates a red or orange, but I also just think that she looks very strange. The way I usually tell immediately that a cat is Mapleshade is the fact that she has a pure white tail, regardless of if she's a really light yellow or if she's brown. This Mapleshade has a white tail tip, but if she wasn't so angry looking, I'd probably sooner assume this was supposed to be Spotted Leaf. Not that this is a particularly good design for Spotted Leaf either, mind you. The pure black spots next to the pure black eyeliner really throws her off, especially when I know that they've got lighter blacks and browns they could have used for the spots instead. The little divide between her muzzle white and her forehead white additionally makes her look like she's a paint by numbers that somebody messed up. She's also minorly got the same problem as Ivypool, where her nose is a pale yellowish color while all of her other features are much darker. It doesn't look as yellow as Ivypool's, however, because it's not contrasted with two other shades of pink like hers, so it looks better on Weird Mapleshade than it does on Ivypool. Something that half of these figures have that no earlier figure has, however, is no divide between their head and their neck. Mapleshade, Crooked Star, and Hawkfrost simply have beards growing into their chest fluff, which makes their heads look very long, and a lot less cute than other figures. You can't tell as much on Crooked Star, but Hawkfrost's little white spot makes it very obvious that he's got no real chin. To be fair though, looking at them from an angle, it's a lot less obvious on all of them. It's just when you look at them head on, you're like, Additionally, all of these guys sit a lot better than sets 2 and 3. They've got really flat bottoms, so they can stay still even on this bumpy material, which is not something I can say about Squirrelflight, Cinderpelt, or Brightheart. Brightheart specifically has a hard time sitting up even on the flattest, most level tables where she will fall over with just a tap. These guys sit much, much better. As far as predictions for the future go, we now have both Leafpool and Hollyleaf plushies, but no minis for either of them, so I hope that they come up next. I also really want to see a Dovewing, obviously, and I'd hope for them to pair her with another 4th arc cat like Briarlake, Breezepelt, Lionblaze, or Tigerheart. I have no idea how popular Tigerheart is. I think he's really funny, but I have no idea about that outside of 10-year-old shipping war memories. If they made a Tigerheart figure, do you think that they would call it Tigerheart, or do you think they would call it Tigerstar 2? Maybe they could call it Tigerstar with Stick. But I'd imagine they're really hesitant to release too many non-first art cats at once. I can see White Storms, Spotted Leafs, maybe a Tall Star or Leopard Star in our future if there's another set. Maybe they'll surprise us by making a Princess and a Cloudtail. I personally really want to see newer cats, but they don't seem like they're interested in making too many of them. Anyways, thus ends another run of minis. I hope there's more in the future because the one thing in their store I like is the little Vinyl Cats.